Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be talking about what actually has to happen for the Lions to win the NFC North this upcoming season. Last year did not go as planned. We finished 9-8, which put us in fourth place in a tough NFC North, and I think it's likely going to be a good one once again. So today I'm going to be talking about how the Lions can not just compete, but actually win the division. First, let's talk about why the Lions must finish with a positive record in the division. Last year, we went 2-4 in the division, which was just simply not good enough. We beat the Bears both times, but the Packers and Vikings gave us problems, and we got swept by both of them. And it's just simply one of the main reasons that we finished in last place in this division. We currently cannot just rely on beating the weaker competition. We must handle business against Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota. First, I want to talk about Chicago specifically. Last year, the Bears won the division. So they currently have all the hype. Everyone thinks this is the Bears division once again, and the Lions are going to try and come out and prove that it's not. I personally think this is a team that we will likely be fighting for first place with. I think the Bears are going to have a good season once again, and it's going to come down to Chicago versus Detroit. We actually did very good against them last year. We owned Ben Johnson, going 2-0 against him. Hopefully, we can keep that up. Now, the Bears did add some pieces to the defense. They added Devin Bush, drafted a rookie safety Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon, who I like a lot. I think he'll make an immediate impact, but I don't know that they did enough on that defensive line. Personally, we will just have to wait and see for that defense, to kind of be elite. I don't think they're going to get to that level this season. Now, the offense is solid. They did lose wide receiver DJ Moore in a trade to the Bills. I really like Luther Burden, though, and I think he's going to be able to step up for them in that offense. Now, our Lions play them in Week 12 and Week 17, as you see on your screen. And that Week 12 game is the third game of a tough three-game stretch. It'll be on Thanksgiving, which is exciting because, we know that we'll be home, and that's going to play a factor and hopefully help us win that game. But we play the Patriots overseas. Then a week from that, we have to come home and play a tough Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And then we go 4 days later, we play this Thanksgiving game against Chicago. So that's just a tough stretch with 3 games in 12 days. That's going to be hard for any team in the NFL. Hopefully, our fans can come and play a big factor, and hopefully we can win that game. And the second time we play the Bears, it's in Week 17, second to last game of the year at Chicago. So it's going to likely be a colder game there. It's important that we come to play. Jared Goff comes to play. The weather doesn't give us too many problems. And I think if the Lions can at least split with the Chicago Bears or maybe even go 2-0, that would go a long way in winning this division. Next, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. The Packers finished second in the division last year. A lot of people think that this is going to be a very solid team once again. And last year we had a disgusting Week 1 loss, like literally probably one of the most brutal games I've watched as a Lions fan. I was so hyped up for the season, and then we ended up kind of getting blown out by the Packers. Our offense struggled a ton. And then the second time we played them was a Thanksgiving game at home, in which this one was a lot closer. I remember our defense just could not hold up, and the Packers converted multiple big third and fourth down conversions to win that game. It's just another team here that I don't think got too much better this offseason when I think the Lions did. I think the Packers are mainly relying on guys to step in and fill roles. That's something that can definitely happen, but it's a little bit risky. They lost guys like Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs, all very solid starters, and I still just don't love that receiver position. Romeo Doubs actually killed us a lot this past season, so I'm kind of glad he's out of the division. But the receiver position is just a little shaky. They're kind of relying on guys like Christian Watson to stay healthy and Matthew Golden to develop. It can happen. We will just have to see. It also seems like Micah Parsons is likely not going to be ready for Week 1, maybe miss a couple games at the start of the year. That likely won't impact when we play them in Week 7, but the Packers record could start a little down early on into the year. This year, we play the Packers in Week 7. We have our bye week in Week 6, and then we play at home against the Packers in Week 7. I love that. I think that gives us a huge advantage, and it should be a game that we will be likely favored to win. Then we don't play the Packers until Week 18, final game of the season at Lambeau. This is another game that's going to be in cold weather, likely could potentially be snowing. I think it's going to have a lot of playoff implications when it comes to seeding for both teams potentially, especially our Lions. I'm confident that game's going to matter a lot for us. Could maybe even matter who wins the NFC North, whether it's the Lions, Packers, Bears, or even the Vikings. I expect the Lions to definitely win the Week 7 game against the Packers, and the Week 18 game could be one that we could steal. Worst case scenario, I think we split with Green Bay. Finally, let's talk about Minnesota. They finished third in the division. They also had a 9-8 record, just like us, but they had the tiebreaker because they beat us both times during the head-to-head matchups. The first time we played them was last year when we were 5-2 heading into that game, had a lot of expectations. A lot of people thought it was going to be an easy win. We ended up losing a close one. I remember J.J. McCarthy threw a great pass, actually, to complete a first down and seal the game for them. Then the second time we played them was on Christmas Day, another very ugly game here. This was definitely our worst offensive performance of the year. Lots of turnovers. It was very hard to watch. I'm not going to lie, kind of ruined my Christmas. I'm glad we don't play on Christmas again. I can just sit back and enjoy it. But the Vikings did give us a lot of problems last year. And when it comes to this offseason, I think the Vikings made some pretty decent changes. They have a new quarterback, which is the big thing, the big talking point. They have Kyler Murray. So if he's good, the offense is going to be good. We know the weapons they have. They actually brought in Jawan Jennings as well. A lot of receiving threats over there, a solid offensive line, solid running backs, but they're more of a passing team. We know that. And then on the defensive side, they got Brian Flores back, which was huge. Now, they did lose Jonathan Grenard, but they added some pieces in the draft. Hopefully, they can come in and develop for the Vikings' sake. Now, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, as Lions fans, we hope the Vikings, Packers, and the Bears are all as worse as they can be. But it's still a very hard team to predict here in Minnesota. I just don't know. You don't really know. It's kind of uncertain how good the quarterback play is going to be. But this year, we play them in Week 8 and Week 15. The Week 8 game will be at home following the Green Bay game. Hopefully, this is one that we can win. And then the second one will be in Week 15 on the road, Sunday Night Football. That will be a very exciting game. I always love a good primetime game, especially within the division. It's going to be fun to watch. This is another team I think the Lions should, at the very least, split with, maybe even go 2-0. We'll just have to wait and see. But now that we dove into each team within the division, let's quickly talk about all 5 players who I think need to step up for the Lions to have a good season. Maybe not all 5 of these players need to step up, but at least probably 3 of them need to step up and fill big roles. Aleem McNeil. We know what Aleem McNeil can be. This one is a lot different from the other 4 players on the list because he's proved to be a stud in the NFL. He got signed to a 4-year, $97 million contract. He's since then been dealing with injuries. Last year came back in the middle of the year and was just not himself. We could see that the pass rush upside wasn't there. He was still solid in stopping the run, and that's something that has to stay. But this is our only proven pass rush piece from the interior. So we need him to come back and be the Aleem McNeil that we know he can be. Get back to being disruptive in the middle of that defensive line. Next, let's talk about Christian Mahogany. Christian Mahogany is clearly, in my opinion, the worst of the starting offensive linemen. He's still a solid piece, but last year was a down year. His rookie year, yes, he had a lot of hype around him. Those 2 games were good, but this past year he was down, especially in pass protection, and that's something that needs to get better. He's a physical run blocker. That part is good about his game, but we need him to improve in pass protection because we just cannot simply get beat from the interior as much as we did this past year. I think there's a lot of guys that are fighting for competition. In my video the other day, I talked about how the Lions have a lot of guards that are going to fight for competition. And I think Juice Scruggs is going to give him a real battle this offseason. We'll have to see. But whoever wins the left guard spot needs to step up. It needs to be better than last year. I think it's huge that that spot is going to be between Penei Sewell and Cade Mays. I think that'll go a long way. But if he can be reliable, that's going to be huge. And I think the Lions would then have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Third, let's talk about Malcolm Rodriguez. Malcolm Rodriguez is going to have to play a lot more than he's been having to play with the loss of Alex Anzalone to free agency. When the Lions run 3 linebacker sets, Malcolm is going to be on the field. We all know his story, a later round pick. We saw the hype, everything that surrounded him during Hard Knocks, his rookie year. And we know what Malcolm Rodriguez brings. Great special teams, valuable, great energy, a good tackler, solid in coverage. Is he going to improve in that area? We will just have to wait and see. If he stays healthy, we we really do need him to stay healthy. Just a lot of unproven depth behind him. I would say guys like Jimmy Rolder, the rookie, we don't know how he's going to translate to the NFL. And Damone Clark, we don't know much about him as well. He just doesn't need to be a star, but he does need to be a reliable option. Now let's talk about Tyleik Williams, 91 on your screen. We need him to be a little bit more than a rotational guy this year. We lost DJ Reader. We lost Roy Lopez in free agency. We drafted Tyleik to be a stud run defender with some pass rush upside. We saw some flashes at Ohio State. He's yet to bring that to the NFL. Hopefully he can do so. Kind of like him and Aleem McNeil, maybe it'll develop along the line. This was a first-round pick. He has the talent. It's very important that he develops this offseason for the Lions and that defense. Finally, let's talk about Terrion Arnold. We need a reliable cornerback. Him and DJ Reed were a little bit up and down last year. Hopefully, Terrion can develop into what we know he can be. The shoulder injury last year was not ideal, only playing 8 games. But we know the talent is here with Terrion. This is an aggressive corner that fits the Lions' style. He just needs to be a little bit more consistent in coverage and staying away from being too grabby because he's had way too many penalties throughout his career. But if he turns it around, puts it together, and turns into a real cornerback one, that would go a long way for the Lions and their defense. Finally, let's talk about why the Lions should be the favorites. The Lions have an elite offense. We have elite offensive weapons, whether it's our receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Isaac Tesla. We have a great tight end in Sam Laporta, a good running back, a great running back in Jahmyr Gibbs, and a very good quarterback in Jared Goff. I'm still on the Jared Goff hype train. The Lions have an elite offense and a ton of weapons with an offensive line that's going to be getting better. We also brought in a new offensive coordinator. I think our offensive coordinator last year was very bad, and there's a very good reason why he got fired. I could just see the Lions having one of the best seasons and one of the best offenses in the NFL. I'm going to say that we average around 30 points per game, potentially a top 3 offense in the NFL. Then on defense, if some of those players that we just talked about can come in and fill in roles and be solid, I think the Lions could have a top 15, maybe a top 10 defensive unit. But because the Lions finished in last place last year in the division, a good reason that they should be favorites is we have the easiest schedule in the division. We play a lot of the 4th place teams, and those teams include the Titans, Giants, and Cardinals, which other teams in the division don't get to play. Those are 3 of probably the bottom 5 teams in the NFL. Actually, I don't think the Giants are bottom 5. I think the Giants will have a very solid year, but the Titans and Cardinals are 2 of the worst teams in the NFL for sure. So this upcoming schedule is easier if the Lions can beat the teams that they should beat and have a positive record in the division, at least split with all of the teams in the division. That's going to help out a ton. We have the roster. We have the motivation to come back and be better after a 9-8 season, and the schedule advantage. Now we just really need to put it all together. And I think the Lions can definitely win the NFC North. But it's not automatic. The Lions must be better in the division. We need some key players to step up, and we got to take advantage of that schedule. Stay healthy if the Lions really want to reach their ceiling. Health is a very important thing. But my question to you guys is, do you think the Lions are going to come back, get to the top of the division, win the division, or is a team like Chicago, Green Bay, or Minnesota going to take the North this upcoming season? We'll just have to wait and see. But that'll do it for today's edition of Lions Roundtable. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, go Lions. Peace.